Welcome everyone to Vivid Vision's Tech Talk with Dr. Steve. That would be me. And I'm the owner of Vivid Vision Imaging, the host of today's Tech Talk. Have a technician's degree, doctorate degree, teacher, writer. I've been programming I've been in IT for 38 years. And programming in Joomla for about 10 years. These presentations that we're doing, the Tech Talk, I'm really kind of designing them to be for an introduction or an intermediate viewer, and I'm also trying to keep them short. So we're going to kind of move along at a quick pace. Last week's introduction to Joomla, we ran a little bit long on that. It was a lot of material to cover. In the coming weeks, we'll go back and take a closer look at some of the topics here and spend a little bit more time digging into them. But so today is just pretty much an overview. So today's topic is Joomla Essentials, configuration and third-party add-ons that every Joomla installation must have. Now, when Joomla is installed, it's pretty much bare bones. I mean, there are built-in features to Joomla, but in order to get your basic function that is functional, and that's the qualifier right there, is if it is actually functional, you need to add some third-party components onto it, or third-party add-ons. Now in Joomla, you've got on top of your core, which is the Joomla, you have components and modules and plugins. And for people who are not familiar with that, I know when I first started with Joomla, it was confusing. You know, what does a module do, and how do you apply it, and what's a plugin, and what's a component? So, a quick overview is that if you think of Joomla like Windows, I'm going to use Windows because it's so popular. You install Windows, and let's say that you want to write write a letter. Let's say you want to write a letter. Well, you can't actually start writing a letter till you put a word processor in. Okay, so think of Windows, or think of Joomla like Windows. And then if you wanted to put a word processor into Windows so you could write a letter, then the comparable component in Joomla would be a component. So you would want to put a component in. The next thing would be like, let's say that after you finish writing your letter, you wanted to print out your letter, but you can't do that till you have a printer installed. All right, so you would put the software in, which would load a driver in Windows so the printer would work. Comparatively speaking, that would be like putting a module in, though in Joomla, modules actually have a much broader use. But for this comparison, it's a similar type of function. And then let's say that you're in Windows and you open up I don't know, let's say a video or something, and the video won't play because you don't have the MP4 codec installed. Well, the comparative in Joomla would be a plugin. The codec plugin would be the function of a plugin. So we'll look at components and modules and plugins down the road a little ways. Today we just want to take a look at the bare minimum, what you really have to have in a clean and new installation on Joomla. All right, so the first essential is going to be two-stage authentication. Now you'll see on your screen right there the Joomla login on the right. That's normally what you get to when you go to the URL plus administrator. So I could just pull up www.yourwebdomain or yourdomain.com. I could put that / in there and write administrator, hit the enter, and I would go straight to the back-end login for your Joomla account. And from there, I could, if I wanted to, try to hack into your Joomla installation, and there are plenty of bots out there that try to hack in. Two-stage authentication puts something in between that you can see right there on your screen. It's that center one. It says administrator login. It's a way of putting a password or a passphrase or a passkey in between the online exposure, or the online visitor, and the actual login login form for the back end of Joomla. So the first essential thing you need to have is two-stage authentication for the administrator login. The second thing you want to do after you've got your Joomla installed is to disable the administration account or the default administration account. You'll see right there, there's a screenshot of the default user account. It's called, the login name is admin, and it's a super user. Super user meaning that you have root privileges, or you have administrator privileges in the back end, which means that you can make any kind of changes at all. You're not being filtered or blocked. And then, because Joomla ships with the user account name admin, if I were a hacker trying to hack into the backside of your site, all I'd have to do is go back to this login over here on the right hand side, type admin in, and I'm halfway into your site. All I have to do next is just keep pounding away, which they call brute force hacking, onto your password until I get logged in. So what you want to do is disable this administration account, create a new account, and set it up as the super user account, and only have one. That'll go a long way to helping to secure up or to put security onto the back end of your site. All right, another essential is going to be an active firewall. You need protections against the most common types of threats, and on Joomla is most frequently attacked by SQL injection attacks, local file include attacks, and remote file include attacks. So you'll see on the screen right there, I did a screen capture of what a typical local file inclusion attack looks like. And it's this big, long string with a whole lot of meaningless or seemingly meaningless characters on it. And what it's designed to do is to trigger a PHP reaction, or a function in the PHP that will include code or execute code or add content into the page function display. It can, and the code that's added can be local or it can be remote, and that's where we get the local file include or remote file include. Anyway, and the SQL injection attack, that is a way to exploit the SQL database to actually add content in. I don't know if you've ever had gone to a website where unusual characters are showing up, or even strange advertisements that are stuck at the bottom of an article or something like that. That's usually the result of an SQL attack. Number 4 is a backup component. Now, down the road a little bit, we'll do a live demonstration on how to manually do a backup. Basically, what you want to have, because on Linux everything is done in packages, your entire installation is based upon a directory structure or a series of packages. So you can literally take your root folder or the files in the root of the installation and zip up the whole thing and download it. But you don't have you don't have all the information that you need to restore the backup unless you also include a copy of the SQL database. And you also want to make sure that you have the environment configuration, because without the two, you're not going to get it installed again. This will probably be a webcast down the road a little ways about how to do a Joomla backup and a Joomla restore from a backup, and we'll do it manually, maybe with a screen share or something. All right, the next thing we have as far as essentials goes is going to be your content editor. Joomla ships with TinyMCE as the default content editor. Personally, I like the code mirror, but if you're not familiar with writing directly into the code, then that's probably not the choice for you. By and large, the most popular code editor for Joomla is the JCE, or the Joomla Content Editor. It has a free version you can download and install, but it provides a very robust GUI, or a graphical user interface, for managing, changing, marking up your content. This is the preference by most persons who don't have any coding experience. The one thing I don't care for about the GUI is that it's designed by default to go ahead and validate the code. So if you happen to be doing some coding that requires some finesse, special inline CSS coding, or whatever it happens to be, and if you're getting creative with the code, it's possible that the JCE will go in there and take all your code out and substitute something you don't want, and all of a sudden what you wrote is broken. I have had that. I have seen that happen before. And then disabling the there is a way to disable that feature, but it's not easy, and oftentimes it gets reset during an update. So I found it much easier just to code in the code mirror. Okay, so let's move on to the next essential. Look at that. We have another essential. Yes, we have Forms Manager. Forms Manager is essential. Joomla does not ship with a Forms Manager. You'll have to add one on as a component. And if you're going to have a website, then you need to have some kind of way for your website visitors to communicate back to you. There was a time when just putting your email address on the website was enough. They could copy and paste it, but if you do that, you do run the risk that that email address is picked up by bots and you become the target of spam. It's much safer to go ahead and create forms. Now, if you have that little screenshot right there comes off of the Vivid website, so the Forms managers will allow you to design custom forms in a variety of different types of languages. I'm currently coding in HTML5 because of its cross-platform compatibility with mobile devices. So Forms Manager component is another one of your essential must-haves when you build a new Joomla website. Alright, now we're going to shift over into recommended add-ons. I do recommend that you put on advanced module support. What advanced module support will allow you to do is to get very specific as to where modules are used. You can assign them via menu items, by different templates, by specific categories, or even down to individual articles. This will allow you to create custom functions that is active in one part of your website but not active in another place. And an advanced module support is necessary in order to manage those types of functions. Alright, then we also have multiple category support. This is very useful, especially if you have an e-commerce store where your visitors may be coming to your site and then searching keywords to find what kind of products that you have. The keywords that your customers use for their search may or may not fit the exact match of your product. So if you set your site up so that products can span multiple categories, you have a better chance that the products that you want to display to your clients will show up using unknown keywords that the visitors may use. Multiple category support, I suspect that it will probably be incorporated into the Joomla core in future versions, but as of version, let me see where we are right now, 3.8.12 I believe we are, multiple category support is not yet supported in the core. It does have to be added on. I do recommend that upgrade. Okay, also recommended the sitemap component, and sitemap component goes out, reads all your content, develops an XML page. It also develops an XHTML page. You're looking at the XHTML version for the Vivid site right now. You don't have to do this, but I do recommend it. If you don't, the Google bots will, over time, eventually crawl your site and compile this information. If you go ahead and compile it ahead of time and submit it, it works much better for your SEO, for your site's SEO. Alright, another component I recommend is the Email Manager component. This is one of the functions that Joomla can handle quite well, that a lot of people miss, or a lot of companies miss. I've seen, third-party email managers, for example, like Constant Contact is very popular, but I do like to see companies that send directly from their own server. Now, what the email management manager components will do is you can set up cron jobs, you can set up custom email templates, manage your own contact database, um, send out advertising, emails, email marketing. You can run email campaigns, and a lot of these types of things we'll take a closer look at down the road. But the key component here is that when you send emails out, instead of John Smith at your at AOL.com or at gmail.com, or even coming from Constant Contact, you've got your John Smith at xyzwidgets.com. So you're speaking directly from your company's domain. So an email management component is recommended. Also recommended are module and article embed functions. These are these could be modules or plugins. They're not full components, but what it allows you to do, it really gives you a lot of versatility in how you can manage the component. You can put modules into articles. You can put article content into modules. You can put content into modules. You can stack them and mix them, and by doing so, you can build very complex pages that has a very dynamic look to it. But these module and article embed functions have to be added on. All right, some other optional functions. E-commerce component, that is a full, like an e-store. And what you're looking at there is a custom shopping cart that we built for the Vivid built for one of our clients. So an e-commerce component can be added on as an optional function. Another optional function is event registration component. This is where you can advertise for an event, have an event calendar. Your website visitors can come get the details about an event, register, collect the money, you can print out tickets or confirmation for their purchases. It just basically manages events with a registration component. So that's another optional function. Another optional function would be a project manager component. This is very good, especially if you're overseeing the implementation of large projects. It allows you to divvy up all the different tasks to different teams. Maybe have a team manager. You're going to may need to have the different teams perform or deliver or complete their tasks on different time frames. And the project manager gives you the tools necessary to oversee and to manage complicated tasks. I think we have one more thing here. Yes, I'm not going to get into it, but the CRM or the customer relationship component, another optional function. So as I said, this was going to be very quick. I think we've already gone well over the 10-minute mark, which was my goal, but I am. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. The next time that we do a tech talk, we're going to be talking about installing Joomla, and I may use a screen capture for that, so we can actually walk through the steps and see how to do a clean installation of Joomla, and we'll be using an Apache server with a cPanel account. Okay, that wraps everything up for today. Thank you for coming out to Vivid Vision's Tech Talk. This is Dr. Steve saying see you next time.